Good day, it's August 25th, 2025. After a non-productive Trump-Putin summit in Alaska and had separately met with Zelensky in the White House, President Trump now proposes a summit between Putin and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. I'm Sam Buban. Welcome to the Pulse.
And I'm Joe Buban. Welcome to this week's edition.
President Trump had publicly announced that he is working on a plan to have Russian President Putin and Ukrainian President Zelensky to have a tri-party summit with him concerning a prospect of a ceasefire in the war in Ukraine. Trump claimed to have begun the arrangement following his meeting with Zelensky and European leaders in the White House last week. But as of early Thursday last week, according to multiple sources, Vladimir Putin is ignoring that proposal by Trump. According to many national observers and being reported in multiple mainstream media outlets, that Trump's administration is making it up, claiming that the Russian president had agreed to an Article 5 arrangement for protection of Ukraine, allowing NATO troops on the ground in Ukraine. But Russia denies having such agreement when Putin and Trump met in Alaska. When asked by the press, Trump sidestepped the question about a ceasefire. He said there will be no ceasefire, confusing further the American listeners and viewers, and President Trump describing a great relationship between him and Vladimir Putin.
After more than 2 weeks of special session with zero Democratic lawmakers present, and Texas Governor Greg Abbott called for another special session, the Republican-led legislature in Texas finally passed a bill in the lower chamber for the new redistricting map for Texas, meant to appease Donald Trump, that removes 5 congressional districts that are presently held by Democrats and turn them into a Republican district by surgical political gerrymandering. Such a bill is now in the Senate and will be approved because of their majority in both chambers and signed by the Republican governor. The vote was purely along party line with zero vote from a Democrat. This was an unusual move outside of the traditional every 10 years practice of congressional redistricting. The new congressional map will render the tough-fighting Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, a rising star in the Democratic Party, as one who will be a resident outside her district in the new congressional map. The driving force around this issue of taking away the Democratic-held districts is the fear of the president that they will lose control of the House of Representatives in 2026 election, thereby handing over the House to the Democrats, which then create a checks and balances for everything the president wants to do. At present, the House and the Senate that is Republican in majority has been described by political observers and the opposition as a rubber stamp of the White House. Because of their 4-seat majority in the Senate, even the usual critics of bad policies of Trump, Senator Murkowski of Alaska and Susan Collins of the state of Maine, is not enough to block Republican bills that harms the general public. Democrats think they have the big chance to take back the House of Representatives in next year's midterm election, and that is why Trump is worried, such that he wanted the Texas Republicans to take away 5 Democratic congressional districts.
But just as promised, California Governor Gavin Newsom and the California legislature, which are controlled by Democrats, will retaliate and take away 5 Republican congressional districts and turn them into Democratic majority in the California redistricting. Governor Newsom has already called for a special election, a referendum that will allow the state legislature to redraw the congressional map in California rather than the independent, nonpartisan Congressional Redistricting Commission. The California State Supreme Court had already refused to intervene on the legality of the special election as a referendum to the change on the redistricting process, a nod to Governor Newsom's move. At the present, California has 52 members in the House of Representatives, but only 8 are Republicans. If California will do a retaliatory gerrymandering on their own, that would leave the Republicans with only 3 Republican majority districts.
As diversity, equity, and inclusion becomes an issue in this country, the U.S. District Judge Stephanie Gallagher has blocked the Trump administration directives eliminating diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI, programs in education. Opponents argued the measures have unlawfully discarded lawful practices, while Trump officials maintained that they are enforcing anti-discrimination law. Judge Gallagher directly struck down the Education Department's memos and a Dear Colleague letter marking a significant ruling against federal overreach in schools. Gallagher found the directives violated the Administrative Procedure Act and raised constitutional concerns. She stated Trump's executive order and the Secretary's memos initiated a sea change in how the Department of Education regulates educational practices and classroom conduct, causing millions of educators to reasonably fear that their lawful and even beneficial speech might cause them or their schools to be punished. In Mississippi, U.S. District Court Judge Henry Wingate blocked any efforts to ban DEI policies towards Mississippi schools through the Mississippi Assembly Bill, House Bill 1193. Judge Wingate back in July sided with a group of Mississippi educators who argued that the Mississippi House Bill pushes selective views on students, teachers, and parents to violate both the First and 14th Amendments of the Constitution and to share ideas to receive an exchange of knowledge. According to the news magazine Mississippi Today, the plaintiffs' attorneys argued House Bill 1193 violates the U.S. Constitution's First and 14th Amendments by prohibiting discussions of race, sex, gender, identity, and sexual orientation in classrooms, with the ban targeting talks and books about the Civil War, women's rights, slavery, and other topics marked as essential to understanding the country's history. The argument is that the law is dangerously vague and risks opening the doors to massive complaints against schools and their educators.
In our community news, the Filipino American community of Las Vegas, as part of the Philippine History Month, will hold the Fiesta Filipino on Saturday, October 4th, from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. at the rare parking lot of M Resort, located at the intersection of South Las Vegas Boulevard and St. Rose Parkway. The one-day fair will be a fusion of Filipino cultures and will feature food, entertainment, bazaars. This event is spearheaded by the National Federation of Filipino American Associations, or NAFA, Nevada chapter. Vendors for the bazaar are still welcome. For more information, if you want to participate as a vendor, call Leo Belmonte at 702-373-9522 or Dr. Mike Santa Juana at 725-321-4648.
Also, the Filipino town Las Vegas, the inauguration of the Filipino Town Cultural District that has been approved by Clark County, will be on Thursday, October 9, 2025, at the Boulevard Mall along Maryland Parkway from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. It will be inside the mall. There will also be entertainment, food, and mini bazaars. Bring the whole family. See you there. We are going to take a commercial break. Please stay with us.
Pure Medical Equipment provides top-notch quality medical supply equipment. Whether to rent or buy, Pure Medical Equipment and Supplies has it all.
Pure Medical Equipment is committed to serve and give back to Southern Nevada.
We deliver medical supplies and rentals to your door.
Welcome back to The Pulse. This August marks the 80th anniversary of the end of the Second World War with the fall of Berlin and Japan's surrender when Japan was part of the Axis powers. It was not until September 2nd, 1945, which officially was declared the end of the war, as Japan formally signed the Instrument of Surrender in the U.S. naval ship, the USS Missouri. Data suggests that more than 80 million in combined soldiers and civilians died through the 6 years of the war. The highest death rates came from China, over 20 million, in which had fought Japan before the start of the war, and Russia with a death of over 24 million resulting from fighting with the Germans in Finland and the deadly winter and lack of resources. These numbers had yet to be validated or verified. While the United States became the superpower with leading the creation of the United Nations, World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, countries who declared neutral like Sweden and Switzerland made the most money profiting off from both the Allies and the Germans, with Switzerland becoming the financial hub of Europe after stashing German gold, British pound, and American dollar, and Jewish money, most of whom perished in the death camps. And Sweden benefiting most from selling natural goods to both Britain and Germany at the same time. Historians speculate it was the atomic bomb drop in Hiroshima and Nagasaki that played the role in Japan's surrender. Other analysts say it was a prominent Russian invasion on the mainland played a role in the Emperor Hirohito's announcing his surrender to the US, in which the Soviets invaded Japanese-occupied Manchuria and northern part of Korea throughout the month of August 1945. After Japan surrendered, Korea was left divided into Soviet-occupied North and US-occupied South, which led to the 3 years Korean War, 5 years after the Second World War had ended, in which the map of Korea still exists today.
Back to U.S. politics. As more chaos spreads around within the Republican Congress, members in town hall meetings being heckled and booed by their voters, New York Congresswoman Elise Stefanik was the latest to receive such unwelcoming response when taking the podium during an inauguration of a government building in her district. As more young and progressive people are running for office, here are some of the candidates. Isaiah Martin, currently 27 years old, is running on the special election on Texas' 18th Congressional District, which is in the Houston area, held by then Congressman Sylvester Turner before he died. Isaiah Martin was an intern for then Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee before she died in 2024, then being taken over by Erica Lee Carter, who lost in the 2024 election to Sylvester Turner. The congressman died less than 3 months in office. Candidate Isaiah Martin believes in minimum wage raise, better facilities for Veterans Affairs, free school meal funding, investment on clean energy, fair paid leave, and protection of free voting access. The 18th District was shaped by redistricting that followed the 1965 Voting Rights Act, signed into law by President Lyndon B. Johnson, and deliberately crafted to strengthen minority representation in Houston. Its creation and preservation over decades are themselves reflections of battles over race-based redistricting. Experts indicate that the 18th District will take a very big hit as the Texas congressional map redrawing taking place, especially it is on its 5th month without representation and has struggled to recover from natural disasters and the COVID-19 pandemic. Isaiah was dragged out of a hearing back in July after shouting that the gerrymandering efforts are illegal.
As more veterans and former military personnel are running for office within the Democratic Party, Navy Rear Admiral Eileen Laubacher is running against MAGA right-wing Lauren Boebert from Colorado's Congressional 4th District. Another Army veteran is running to unseat Maine Senator Susan Collins in the Democratic Party because he said she has done nothing for Maine. His name is Graham Plattner.
In our world news, BBC reports from South Africa that in Cape Town, a well-known South African member of the parliament used his firearm to protect himself and 2 of his co-workers from a gang's brutal attack. Ian Cameron was returning from a work trip on Tuesday when his car was ambushed in the Philippi Township with Lisa Schickerling and Nicholas Gottsel, 2 other members of the Parliament's Police Committee. Cameron and Gottsel were hurt when the attackers used bricks to smash the car's windows. Cameron, whose teeth were smashed, opened fire in retaliation, wounding one of the assailants. While they look into a case of attempted murder and attempted carjacking, police said 2 adolescents, ages 16 and 18, had been taken into custody. South Africa has one of the highest murder rates in the world. Thus, crime is a big issue there. Police said a hunt was underway for a 3rd suspect after one of the suspects was detained from a farm early on Wednesday and another was caught on Tuesday while seeking medical attention at a hospital. The lawmakers were returning from a surprise visit to a police academy in Philippi when the first brick came through the window on the driver's side and struck up Member of the Parliament Ian Cameron on the face. The chair of the police committee told local broadcaster from Newsroom Africa, Cameron claimed that while he was attempting to repel his assailant, he witnessed his co-workers come under intense attack from the other attackers. When he realized that things could get pretty awful, he said, "If I don't take action." We then drove off to the nearest safe place after I did my best to defend myself with my gun, unquote. As long as you have a license, carrying a firearm is permitted in South Africa. While Gottsel was momentarily hospitalized after being struck on the head, Cameron, who was visible during the interview with a cut lip, claimed that several of his teeth were damaged. Cameron was commended by Gottsel, who said he acted with such bravery after being released from the hospital. The Democratic Alliance, the 2nd largest party in South Africa's coalition government, is represented by all three members of the parliament. The attack demonstrated how out of control crime is in South Africa, according to the party.
In Pakistan, 21 people, including 10 in Karachi, were killed by Pakistan's torrential monsoon rain, according to a report from Al Jazeera. Authorities in Pakistan reported that at least 21 people had died in the incidents linked to monsoon rains, bringing the total number of fatalities over the past week to over 400, as landslides and floods continue to wreak havoc throughout the significant portion of the nation. According to the National Disaster Management Authority, on Wednesday last week, torrential rain caused electrocutions from live wires and house collapses in Karachi, Pakistan's financial district, killing 10 people and 11 in the Gilgit-Baltistan in the north. Forecasters predicted of additional rain till Saturday, so schools in Karachi and the city of over 21 million people stayed closed. Amir Haider Laghari, Sindh's top meteorologist, attributed the catastrophic floods in the urban areas to weak infrastructures. Entire neighborhoods were drowned as a result of the city's aging pipelines and sewers failing to withstand the flood. As the disturbance was exacerbated by phone and power disruptions, residents were observed scooping murky water from their homes. In two districts, 40 to 50 homes were reportedly destroyed, according to provincial officials. By the end of the month, another rain spell is expected to begin, according to the National Disaster Management Agency Chair, Inman Haider Malik. Since last Thursday, almost 300 people had been killed in the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, the northern region that has been mostly severely affected. In the regions affected by landslides and flash floods, authorities and army troops are looking for dozens of missing civilians. To remove debris obstructing rivers and drainage system, excavators had been sent in. According to officials, since the start of the year's monsoon season, around 750 people have perished. Extreme weather has been more common in Pakistan, one of the nations most at risk from climate change in recent years. About 1,700 people were killed in 2022 when monsoon floods flooded a third of the country.
In Brazil, South America, the Associated Press reports that Brazilian police claimed that former President Jair Bolsonaro had intended to flee to Argentina in order to seek asylum. According to documents obtained by the Associated Press on Wednesday, Brazil's federal police stated that messages discovered on former President Jair Bolsonaro's phone revealed that he had previously desired to escape to Argentina and apply for political asylum. In connection with his trial, police formally accused Bolsonaro and one of his sons, Eduardo Bolsonaro, of obstruction of justice. Bolsonaro is presently awaiting a Supreme Court verdict regarding an alleged coup attempt and found out Wednesday that he may be facing another case. According to the 170-page study on February 10 of 2024, Bolsonaro wrote a request for political asylum from the government of Argentine President Javier Milei. 2 days after police searched his office and residence as part of the purported coup plan probe, he preserved the document. Bolsonaro acknowledged spending 2 nights at the Hungarian embassy in Brasilia nearly that period, which fueled rumors that he might have been trying to evade arrest. According to the report, Bolsonaro has disregarded the precautions put in place for his house arrest and disseminated information to his supporters to directly hit Brazilian democratic institutions, notably the Supreme Court and even Brazil's Congress, which is part of the larger police charge of obstruction of justice. After police sent the records to Brazil's Supreme Court, the AP examined the police evidence, which included voice chats and messaging app exchanges. If the Attorney General chooses to charge Bolsonaro, he would have to go through another trial. The case judge, Justice Alexander de Moraes, told Bolsonaro's attorneys 48 hours to explain why the former president applied for political asylum in Argentina and disregarded other house detention precautions, like avoiding contact with persons outside of his family. Bolsonaro claimed he was the victim of political persecution in Brazil in a 33-page letter to Milei. Both are ardent supporters of US President Donald Trump, who recently chose to put 50% tariffs on Brazilian products, saying Brazil is persecuting his ally, Bolsonaro. Trump imposed sanctions on the Supreme Court Justice Moraes. We're out of time for this edition. Please join us again next week. I'm Joe Boban. Thank you for watching.
And I'm Sam Buban. God bless your week.